Which of the following conclusions can be made about the graph below? Select all that apply. There is a positive correlation between amount of physical activity and level of stress. And B says there is a negative correlation between amount of physical activity and level of stress. So we can only choose one of these. It's either going to be positive or negative, or maybe there's no correlation. Let's take a look. On the x-axis, we have physical activity. On the y-axis, we have stress level. If I draw a line of best fit, it looks like as physical activity increases, stress level decreases, because the slope of this graph is going down. So this is actually a negative correlation. So let's go ahead and cross off A. It's not a positive correlation, it's a negative correlation. So B is correct. Let's continue to take a look at our other answer choices, since this is a select all that apply question. C says the relationship between amount of physical activity and level of stress reflects a causation. Does this reflect a causation? They're correlated, but we don't necessarily know that more physical activity causes lowered stress directly. We can't for sure determine that this is causal. That word causation, we have to have a lot more to prove causation, so let's get rid of that. D says the correlation between amount of physical activity and level of stress is a coincidence. Well, it's also probably not a coincidence. As we increase our physical activity, that's releasing endorphins, and endorphins lower stress, so it's not coincidental. They are related. E says there is a lurking variable responsible for the correlation between the amount of physical activity and the level of stress. Lurking variable, that's what I was just talking about. The lurking variable here could be endorphins. It means there's something in between these two variables that links them together. So in this case, physical activity, increase in physical activity causes a release in endorphins, and that release of endorphins causes a decrease in stress level. So that the endorphins here is our lurking variable. So E could be correct. And then F says there is no relationship between amount of physical activity and level of stress. Well, we already know there's a negative correlation. We already know there is a relationship, so let's cross that off. So our answers here are B, there is a negative correlation, and E, there is a lurking variable. So these two variables, physical activity and stress level, are related. There's a negative correlation, but there's not necessarily a causation directly between the two. There's most likely a lurking variable that is causing this correlation.